What to grow in May, my unmissable list of only 5 plants that for me, if you grow nothing else, you have to grow these. Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome back. On today's episode of Niall Gardens, we're talking about what to grow in May. I know that it's really easy to get a bit overwhelmed with all of the lists and videos and photos that you see of things that you can grow. So what I've done is I've done all the hard work for you. I've filtered out all of the things that aren't great and I've distilled everything down to 5 really great things that I think you need to be growing, or at least you need to consider growing. And we're going to be talking about a really easy to grow annual flower that's going to give you big colour. We've got a shrub, we've got a nice perennial ground cover plant, we've got a really easy to grow edible, and we've got a great edible that's going to do well if you're in a hotter climate or if you have a nice undercover growing area. So let's get stuck in. For my very first recommendation of what to grow in May, I've brought us into the veg garden and we're sitting at the new fruit tree guilds because these are going to be a combination of both edibles and ornamentals. And the seed that I want to talk about is an ornamental, and it's zinnias. Zinnias are really easy to purchase. You'll find them in almost every garden centre. They're really easy to source online, and because they're pretty ubiquitous, the seeds are really affordable as well. But the reason that I'm suggesting them is quite how easy they are to grow and how well they're going to perform for you. Normally when something is described as being quick to germinate, in my mind I'm thinking 4 to 5 days. Would you believe that these little seedlings here, and you can see that they're already about 1 inch tall, truly these only got sown about 48 hours ago. I popped them in a propagator and look at how quickly they have grown. And really, once they start growing like this, they are on an upward trajectory of growth, development, and ultimately flowering, and that's why I'm recommending them. They come in the most wacky shades of colour, everything from whites, yellows, oranges, pinks, but then they go into reds, purples, magentas, ones that have mixes of those colours. They're so floriferous, they are just mad. Now, possibly you want to be careful about which cultivar or variety you go with, depending on your colour taste. But if you just want really clashy, bright colours, look no further with zinnias. They are tender, so if you live in a climate like here, where we're still not at our last frost date yet, you're going to want to bring these on under cover, somewhere like a conservatory, a greenhouse, or a polytunnel. Keep potting them on, pinch them out so that they form nice bushy plants, and then when the weather's milder, plant them out and enjoy those flowers. My plan is that they're going to get dotted all the way across the garden, hopefully, but certainly a lot of them are going to go here into the veg garden to give that real pop of colour, where I do find that in vegetable gardens they can look a little bit just flat green if you're not careful. We'll see what they look like if I go ahead and put them in the fruit tree guilds, but I think if you go with them, you're not going to be disappointed. So get yourself some zinnia seeds. So we've talked about a really easy to sow, quick to grow and quick to bloom flower. Now let's talk about a great crop that if you live somewhere like I do, you're going to need to grow in a greenhouse, or if you live in a warmer climate, it's going to do really nicely for you outdoors. And I'm so excited to show you who's going to be giving you that recommendation. All the way from the United States of America, it's Kevin from Epic Gardening.
It's difficult to choose just one plant to select for May. That's the month that almost all of us in the garden are excited to get everything you see on this table out there, but I have to pick, so what I've picked are peppers. To me, this is one of the most fun crops you're gonna have in the entire season. Why? It's because of the variety. I mean, I've got tomatoes here. Yes, I can grow cherries, I can grow slicers, etc. But with peppers, you just have such a depth in the category. You have your sweets, your hots, your super hots, you have ornamental peppers, different sizes, stuffing peppers, drying peppers, spice peppers. It is an incredibly deep world that you can go into, and I finally understand why people call themselves pepperheads. For a while, I didn't really get why folks would just grow peppers, and now, having grown over 100 varieties myself, let's just say I understand. I've grown just about everything under the sun. If you want varieties that I think are fantastic, to me you can't go wrong with a shishito. I think a Buena Mulata is a fantastic variety. I tend to grow fewer bell peppers than maybe the average gardener. You only get about 3 to 5 per plant. So for me, I want to go for something that maybe I can't get at the grocery store that does produce a lot. So that's why I go for something like that shishito or a Jimmy Nardello or a Buena Mulata. Or if you do like something spicy, you can go for those habaneros on upwards. But peppers to me, it just is that quintessential summer crop that can be used in so many different ways. As far as growing tips go, honestly, kind of an easy plant. They want a little more heat than tomatoes, a little less heat than an eggplant. They're cousins in the same family. So when it's pretty warm out, 70 Fahrenheit or so in the soil, you can put them directly in. And honestly, after that, mulch them up, give them a deep water every so often, maybe throw a little fertilizer in every now and then. But honestly, I don't even do that, especially when I'm planting outside in native soil. If I'm growing in a smaller container, I might give it a little liquid fertilizer once or twice throughout the season. Maybe once a month is also a good routine to get into. But really after that, it is just making sure that they're looking healthy and are looking strong. You don't even have to top them or prune them if you don't want to. Minimal care, just go out, grow your favorite peppers, put them in right now for a beautiful harvest this summer.
If you live somewhere like here in Ireland, it's going to be a little bit late to try and get your peppers and chilies started now and give them a long enough growing season, even if you've got a greenhouse. It's something that you're going to want to do a little bit earlier in the year. However, I know that not all of you are based in a cool temperate climate like I am here. So if you are somewhere warmer, give peppers and chilies a go. I really love growing them. They're so rewarding, and I completely agree with all of Kevin's reasons. If for some reason you don't already know Epic Gardening, and I'm fairly sure you will do, I'll link his channel up above. Go across and make sure to subscribe. The next recommendation comes from Ruth Gowdy with a brilliant plant that not only looks nice and is going to work in a whole range of gardens, but is also going to work in kind of tricky areas and possibly problem areas in your garden. Take it away, Ruth.
Thanks, Niall. So it comes to May, and here at the nursery, all the shrubs are looking beautiful, the perennials are coming out, and we've got lots of summer bedding, so there's plenty of colour. But the main question I still get asked is, what can I grow in a tricky spot that is shady? And so that's the plant I've chosen today. Here it is. It's Vinca, otherwise known as periwinkle. And if you think about it, it has everything you could wish for. It has evergreen foliage, beautiful blue flowers that start early, so they're good for your pollinators, and they're still flowering through to mid to late spring. And it grows in the shade. So if you've got that stump that you don't know what to do with, or an area where nothing really seems to grow under a tree, this is the perfect plant for you. It comes in minor or major. The major leaves obviously are bigger than the minor. And if you look, it will put out these runners that spread across the ground, root down, and form another plant a bit further along. That's the only warning that I give you with Vinca, is you do need to set boundaries. I consider plants a bit like children. They certainly need ground rules. And the ground rules for the Vinca is you don't let them get out of control. But it's a very easy plant to control if you want to. So all you have to do is prune these leggy bits, all these runners off on regular basis, and any bits that are starting to root down, if you don't want them to spread to the area that you're looking at, you can literally lift them up. They're only small roots, so you can lift them up. But a good side to that is, if you want more plants in a different location, you can literally just strike them into another pot and they will regrow somewhere else. You could even share them with your friends. The native colour is the blue, but we also grow them here at the nursery in a lilac, a purple and a white, so there's something for everybody's taste. Not to mention the fact that now you can have some with variegated leaves. Here we've got one with the white variegation and another variety with the yellow variegation. So I brought you out to our local lane where you can see the periwinkle growing in this inhospitable territory under a massive tree, and you can see that the hedge underneath isn't growing at all, but the periwinkle is still growing and green and covering that patch. But you can also see these long runners that are stretching out, and in fact you can see that some has even spread this far. So that's what your warning is, and that's why you want to cut as near to the base as you can to stop it spreading too much.
And look, just so that you know that I'm a man of my word, I have Vinca growing in my own garden. This is a really lovely variegated one, and just check out those flowers. And it's just scrambling over the rockery at the back of the pond. Brilliant, brilliant choice. Thanks so much to Ruth for suggesting it. It really is such a versatile plant that I think you're going to really value having in your own garden. If you don't know Ruth, you really should. Ruth runs her own nursery and garden centre. She truly is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to plants, in particular perennials, and she's got both a YouTube channel and an Instagram account. Both of those can be found really easily by simply typing in The Flower Writer, and I'll make sure to link her social channels up above as well. Thanks, Ruth. What I love about this series is that I can recommend trees, shrubs and slightly larger plants that really would be something that you would either go out and purchase for yourself or as a gift, really something more of what I would say is an investment piece, rather than just talking about things that you can quickly and easily grow from seed. And for this month, I want to talk about this. This is Berberis darwinii. And in case you haven't worked out the reason that I'm talking about it, it is the colour. Just look how strongly orange it is. It's actually so orange that it nearly throws off the settings in my camera, and it forms a really large shrub. Wait till I show you quite how large. It's this big. Do you see what I mean? It really is big. It's more like a tree, but it'll respond really well to pruning, so you can keep it as small or let it grow as large as you want. It's evergreen, it's covered with really spiky little leaves, and if I'm honest, I find for most of the year it's not particularly interesting. It's a little bit nondescript, but it's worth it for now. This colour is just so bright and so strong that it really stands out in the garden. And what's lovely as well is that in spring, so many flowers and colour are really pretty fleeting. Things like tulips don't last that long and then they're gone. This, however, this has been flowering for about 2 to 3 weeks already. So it's been flowering since early to mid-April, and I know that this is going to keep going all the way through into May. And if you think that I love the colour, well, guess what? Because I don't know if you can hear, but this is just covered with bees and all kinds of pollinating insects. So as well as being good for us, it's good for the garden. Go out and treat yourself to something like this, a big statuesque shrub, or if you keep it as a small shrub, if you've got a small garden, is going to add that real impact in terms of colour and add a real structure, form and mass into any garden. I think you're really going to love this thing. Next up, and we're talking about a great, easy to grow edible. In fact, it's a whole group of edibles, and to tell you what it is, it's Liz Zorab from her channel, By Their Farm.
There aren't many plants in our garden that will grow from ground level to 8 feet high in a year, that will look beautiful, that will cover a structure and will also provide a harvest. But that's exactly what you get with runner beans. They're incredibly easy to grow, and in fact they're often given to children when they're first learning about nature to demonstrate how easily things will grow. And they have little beans. So these ones are white, but they're very often either red or purple and mottled with black. So there's a whole variety of kind of beans that you can get. I prefer the white ones. So you can sow them in pots or in modules now during May, or you can sow them direct into the soil after the last risk of frost. So for us here on our north facing, high up, wet and windy site, that's around June the 1st. So I sow mine in pots in May and nurture them on, and then plant out the young plants once all risk of frost is gone. Because they grow so quickly, it's worth putting in your support frame first. And that could be anything from a simple tripod of canes or more. You can make a row of an A-frame structure or an inverted A, and there are also lots of other types of structures that you can create to support your runner beans as they grow. Because they're growing so rapidly, they can be quite hungry plants, so feed the soil with a compost tea or a comfrey tea or a mulch of compost. And while they don't like their roots in water all the time, make sure that they don't dry out when they're producing flowers, because this will make the flowers drop off and then you'll get no beans. Runner beans are plants that just keep on giving. So first of all, you can harvest the green pods and cut them or slice them and boil them and eat them fresh. They're great for freezing so that you have that lovely bean taste in the winter. Or you can leave the pods on the plants and allow the seeds inside the pods to grow and then harvest those. They're great for drying out and kept in the right conditions will keep for years. And then you can use them in a whole myriad of dishes. Runner beans will grow as perennial plants in many parts of the world, so it's worth, instead of pulling the plants up, cutting them off, leaving about 4 to 6 inches of stem above the soil level and giving them a mulch and then waiting to see if they come up the next year. One thing worth noting though is they are really late to appear. I've always noticed it's the end of June or well into July before I see shoots, but when they do come up, you don't just get one stem, you get a multitude of them, and so you have a much stronger plant and a lot more beans to harvest.
Beans really are such a great choice for something to grow in May, and really the variety of what you can grow is just so huge that there's going to be something out there for all of you. I know I'm certainly going to be sowing some, and they're going to be growing in the vegetable garden this year. I'm already looking forward to them. Thanks, Liz. And remember, if you don't already follow or subscribe to Liz, check her out up here, go across and show her your support. 5 brilliant, super fantastic things that I think you need to grow in May. And remember, if your climate is a little bit cooler or your growing season is a little bit further behind mine here in Ireland, have a look at this video here for April, because all of that stuff is going to apply perfectly. But equally, if you're in a warmer climate or your garden is ahead of mine, check out this video and you'll have plenty of choice between all of them. And until next time, see you later.